I'm very positive about all of this, how things are rolling out. So I hope I can bring a bit of positivity to everyone in terms of what PR is, and also how PR can be used almost in these times to create opportunities for us. I am a huge believer that this is all about mindset, and I think the next 3 months, as Orla was saying, it's going to be really tough. But I think with the right tools and the right mindset, we can all come out of this much stronger. I've been doing a lot of research into consumer behaviours and looking at how people are behaving now that we're in this almost 3-month lockdown, if that's how long it lasts. And a lot of the data that's coming out of countries like China at the moment are that we are hoping to see the emergence of what we call a revenge shopper. And I can completely understand this, because once we've all been locked in for a number of months and everything's been uncertain, things move back to normality. People have got money to spend, and it's probably money they don't even have themselves, because obviously they're facing a lot of hardships, but they almost feel a sense of entitlement. And I think that that's something that we all need to hold and remember, and know that people are going to be buying, and it is all going to come back. We're all in really difficult situations. But I think what this is doing, as much as it's giving us a chance to think, it's giving us a chance to revise our comm strategies and take a step back and just look at how we move forward. I don't know if any of you guys have listened, or you listened to the Elizabeth Day How to Fail podcast, but they actually just did a coronavirus special. And if any of you are feeling a little bit down, a little bit shitty about what's going on, please listen to it, because I listened to it and it has just completely changed my perspective on everything. And I'm feeling really, really positive about stuff. So I think now is our time to be strategizing, thinking about PR plans, thinking about how we take things forward. And I am gunning for what I want to call, and what I've coined, helping people build pandemic-proof brands. And it's not to say that we're ever going to face another pandemic, and I really hope that we don't. But I think if we start building our businesses in a way and looking at our comm strategies and PR messaging, what we need to do is take these lessons that we are currently learning as a result of the hardships that we're going through, and turn our brands into stronger brands, and brands that will be less affected by things that we come across in the future. So that's my outlook. I'm remaining as positive as I can. A little example, actually, of opportunity is I was contacted by a guy called Robbie Allen just on Monday, and he's actually launched a business as a result of coronavirus. He has set up a business called Keep Edinburgh Thriving, and I wanted to share it with you guys as well, just in case you don't know about it yet. But he called me and he said, I've had this idea, I've got this website going, I want to work with all the independent retailers across Edinburgh. I want to package their products up into gift boxes and sell them. And he has had so much interest. What he's essentially doing is he is providing companies, or he is providing all these independent retailers with a critical lifeline. And he's basically asked me if I'll do his PR. He's gone in the Scotsman, Edinburgh Evening News today, and he's developed this business, which is, helping everybody. And, it's a really positive thing. So it's a little success story I wanted to share. So in terms of PR, what is PR? And that's a huge question. And I will try and answer as best I can. But essentially what it is it's a marketing tool that can help you build your business. And it can do that in a number of ways. And it's almost like a step-by-step process. So the first thing PR can do is it can generate awareness. So when you have this idea, a fancy website, everything all sorted in your head, but it's just within those 4 walls. You've maybe got some social media profiles, there's advertising, there's all the things that you can do. But what PR can really do is help get your brand out there in front of more people. And in doing that, what it will do is help drive sales. Because when you create as many touch points as possible between your consumer and yourself, you're obviously providing an increased window for sales. And it gives you an opportunity to communicate your USP to potential customers. And in doing that, you raise credibility. And you can do that in a couple of ways, in my opinion. So the first way you raise credibility is through editorial endorsement. When a journalist looks at your brand and they want to include it editorially, not because they've been paid to do it, that gives you a lot of credibility. So, for example, if you were included in the Stylist, the Stylist magazine, and they do like their top stylist picks, all of a sudden, because you've been picked, it's like, wow, my goodness, they've been in this, da da da. And I think placing ads is a great thing, but once you get that editorial and you get journalist endorsement behind you, it really does help you raise your credibility. And the final thing that it can do is help open doors for you. And a lot of the time, those are doors that you wouldn't even know existed. So if you take a sustained approach to PR, what it will do is it will help raise your reputation and your credibility over time. And what will happen then is people that are, on that same level of awareness. So, we know brands. There's certain brands like, Cadbury's or, Volvo. Everybody knows them. And it's a big ladder to get up there. But as you start moving up that ladder of awareness and credibility, it will open doors for you. And I guess what happens then is the opportunities increase exponentially because there's so much more that you can take from this. So there's a number of ways that PR can help you achieve this. What I'll do is I'll just summarize them. The list is endless, so I've tried really to kind of condense it and give you a real shortened version of everything. So, like Orla said, if there's anything I can do to help afterwards, just give me a shout or, give Orla a shout, and I can go into any questions in more detail. But the main ways that we would do this are through news announcements, press releases, getting information out there. Media relations, which is building a network of credible journalists around you, people who have engaged in your product, who like it, who talk about it, and who will, come back to you time and time again. And then another way is through profiling, which is taking your message, because when you build a business, you're obviously very passionate about your USPs, the sector that you're in. What we want to do is we want to build up a profile around that brand so that they can comment on things that are really important in that sector and which are of interest. So that's another way. And then finally, things that people don't often think about are speaker events. If you've got an inspiring story to tell, a business journey, something that you want to share with people genuinely love to hear those stories. And I think, again, it's a great way of profiling your brand and also entering relevant awards. Once you've got a little bit of business behind you and you've got a product that you're proud of and, you've polished it and you've worked out any issues that you've had, I think going for awards and things is another fantastic way that you can raise awareness. I often also find as well that social media and influencer marketing, they all merge into one. They're all part of that PR matrix, which is all about increasing awareness. So I hope that kind of gives you a little bit of an understanding of PR. And the next thing I want to do is talk to you about how PR can benefit your business. So the first thing here is PR will only benefit your business if it's done well. So what I call good or clever PR will benefit your business tenfold. But a lot of people, or PR not done well, average PR, or what I just call making noise, it's just not going to do anything for you, okay? And this is quite often as well why I find that PR or PR agencies sometimes get a bad rep, because people say, oh, I employed them, da-da-da, they didn't get anything from me, didn't make a difference. Well, the reason that happens is because the PR isn't targeted correctly. So a good campaign will include a carefully balanced matrix of activity that specifically supports your business objectives. And in doing that, it will let you deliver tangible results. A bad PR campaign, just making noise, that's not going to give you what you're looking for. So I'll explain a little bit about how this can be done, okay? And the first thing, which people often overlook, and it's a really simple thing, and all of you guys will already know about this because you're working with Orla, so I can guarantee you all do. But in order to deliver or to generate a good PR campaign, you have to be really clear in your mind about your own business objectives, okay? And what they might look like over the next 12 months. You'd be absolutely amazed at the amount of people I talk to and I ask them, what is it that they want to achieve, and where are they heading in the next 12 months? And they say, well, I don't know, actually, I don't know. So it's physically impossible for anybody to help deliver a PR campaign unless you're clear in your own PR objectives. So once you've got those PR objectives or your business objectives clear in your head, what you then need to do is work out how PR can tangibly support those business objectives. So an example here is if, say, I am a beautician in Edinburgh, I need to think about what PR tools I would specifically use to get that awareness and to reach my target consumer. So for example, I would maybe launch a press release talking about a new project I was working on, or I would work with influencers and I would give them some free treatments so that I could help them. I could then share my product with their following. I'd also maybe, if I was really talented at what I did, I would enter some awards, and then winning those awards gives you an opportunity for further press. And I'd maybe, if I was comfortable enough, I'd invite some journalists down and I'd talk to them and I would, share my story with them. So those are the things that I would do that would, the PR objectives, the PR activities that specifically feed into your top line objectives. And then thirdly, and probably most importantly, you need to define your target audience. So what I mean by that is define your target consumer, which you will already know, but have a really hard think about what those target consumers are reading. And how I explain this to clients is that I'll go back to the example of the guy that I've just started working with, Keep Edinburgh Thriving, okay? So for example, we could go out there and we could get him an article in, say, the Financial Times or something, talking about the, financial impacts. But actually, if his core customer are picking up a copy of the Scotsman or the Edinburgh Evening News every day, and they are popping onto Facebook, then we need to think about the importance of getting his message in front of the consumers, his potential customers that are actually going to part with money, because that's what's really important. So it's all very well having a lovely top line article in a national paper, which is brilliant. You can pop a logo on your website, all of those things. But meaningful PR is putting the right messages in front of your core customer in the media that they're going to be reading. That's what makes the difference. Okay. And then finally, you need to think about what your customers will want to read and not just what you want them to know about your brand. And again, this is what makes a critical difference. So once you've established your target audience and your core media, you need to think carefully about what sort of things you say. And the most important piece of advice I can give you here is that you need to communicate with them and give them messages that they will relate to and that they can engage with. Because if you don't, they'll just walk away and they won't spare you a second thought. So a few ways that I think, or that I've learned that you can achieve this, okay, is by keeping things simple and factual, okay? So don't try and overcomplicate things. If you're looking at your messaging, make sure that you really hone in on what matters. And then again, one of the most important things is being consistent. So I often have clients and they say to me, right, I want to write this press release or this article, but I want to get these 10 things across. Now, if I was to read that, I'd think, my goodness, I'm so overwhelmed with this information. I don't know where to start. So a key piece of advice I'd give there is it's better to give somebody the same key message 10 times than it is to go out and try and just overwhelm them with 10 different messages about your brand. Because once they're invested in your brand, they will join you on the rest of your journey and you will have a chance to tell them that story time and time again. So that is how I would achieve genuine customer engagement through PR. Has anyone got any questions, or are we all good? Yeah? Yeah, cool, okay. A question I often get asked is, how do I know I'm ready for PR? Okay, and I'm not just saying this because I work in PR, but I think everybody should be ready for PR, or at least ready to think about PR and how they might do that from day one, okay? I want to give you an example, and this is an honest example, because I think it will really clearly explain why I think PR is important from day one. So 2 years ago, I sat in Montpellier's in Bruntsfield, and I met a girl, and she won't mind me telling you this story, but I met a girl called Rachel Wood for coffee in Montpellier's. And she sat down with me and she said, I need your help. I don't know what I'm doing. And I said, okay, let's chat. And she had a brilliant idea. And this brilliant idea was a brand called Rare Birds Book Club. Okay. She developed some awesome branding. She had a beautiful website. And her concept was essentially a monthly book subscription, which was all about championing female literature. She wanted to make reading fun again. And she wanted to take her message to the world, and she wanted to sell monthly subscriptions. Now, it's a hard thing to do, right? Because where do you start with that? So she was self-funded, she had a limited budget, And she had a handful of subscriptions, maybe 4 or 5, and they were all family and close friends. And we sat down and we talked about her and the market and where she was going. And I think possibly one of the biggest things that was frightening her was she had 3 huge competitors in the market that were way bigger than her, with distribution houses. And she thought, how are we going to do this? What are we going to do? So what we did is we sat together and we made a plan. And we started small, really, really small. And this was 2 years ago. And we looked at the key things that we could do to work with her and help her and build things up. And then each quarter, and this is what's really important, is we started tiny. And I mean really, really small, okay? We were doing small things like helping with Instagram and, building up these things, doing a little launch release to get her brand out there, inviting a couple of journalists down to an event that she was doing. And then each quarter, even those small actions helped to drive her sales. And then each quarter, what we did is we sat down and we reviewed things and we looked at what worked and what didn't work. And we said, okay, so what's working? We're going to do more of that. And we used each quarter as the foundations to build the new PR goals for the next quarter. And essentially what we did is we pushed the boundaries, both in terms of her brand, but also in her confidence, because it was about taking her and this brand and taking it up a gear every quarter or every 6 months. So in space of 2 years, and this is the honest truth, Rachel's subscribers are now in the thousands, not the hundreds. And that is the genuine, honest truth. And she is one of these huge success stories as a result of coronavirus, because everybody wants to read books when they're staying at home, and they're all signing up because it's something that they can do and a product that they really want to get behind. So she is one of the very, very lucky ones that hasn't been affected. She's had around 200 mentions of press in the last 2 years. She was also voted one of the top brands to watch at Stylist 2019. And perhaps the biggest highlight of my entire career, she was featured on ITV This Morning a couple of weeks ago with Holly and Philip. And she was included in a roundup of the top UK subscriptions for Mother's Day, which is just amazing. And that is the honest truth of, and I think it just, why I'm sharing this with you is it gives you the most tangible example I can of how a brand can go from absolutely zero to something really well known in a short space of time with a cleverly put together PR campaign. So, and Rachel, I'm not going to lie, she really inspires me. She's an amazing person, and she's been really open to ideas and crazy stuff. We've done some amazing stuff with her, and she's always just going, yeah, sure, I'm up for it. Let's give it a go. And I think I wanted to share that with you because it's a really positive story of how a business has helped to, has used PR to help it grow to what it deserves to be in such a short space of time. So before wrapping up and answering any questions that you guys have, I wanted to share some key tips on how you can get clear on your messaging and define in your own mind what makes you different. Okay, and the first point I've got here is the who, what, when, where, why. Okay, now I remember sitting down a long time ago in my first PR work experience, and an account director said to me, right, I want you to have a go at writing your first press release. And I said, okay, great, how hard can it be? And she said, great, we'll give it a go. Here's the brand, and what I need you to do is in the first paragraph sum up the who, what, when, where, why. Because a journalist, when they're reading a press release, you might be lucky if they go beyond paragraph 3. Okay, and that's just, it is PR. That's what it is. Unless you capture that imagination within the first, 2 minutes of somebody reading an article, it's just not going to resonate. So I thought it would be quite easy. It took me 4 hours to sit down with this brand and actually put in my head how I was going to get across, these key messages in the very top paragraph. Now, needless to say, I've got a lot quicker at it because I've had a lot of practice now, but it is a really important thing to do. And in doing that, you will really clearly define what are those key messages and the leading points that you go out with to sell your brand. Okay. The next thing I think is really important for defining your USPs and your key messages are doing research. Okay. So I do it with all my clients, and I ask my clients to do the same. But it's really important to look at your key competitors and look at how they are doing their PR and marketing. It's really important for a couple of reasons. Firstly, is because I think we can learn a lot from our competitors, but also I think it's really good at helping you focus where you need to be. And essentially, you want to look at what they're doing and do it better, because that's what's going to get you heard. Now, I often find that research makes me a little bit nervous and panic. And what I mean by that is when I do that myself, because when I start to look at what other businesses and other PR agencies are doing, it makes you quite scared, because you think, oh, I should have been doing that. I wish I could do that. If I had the resources, I'd do this, blah, 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 blah. But I think it's really important to note here that, there's loads of businesses doing amazing things and loads of businesses with great stories to tell. And ultimately, there's enough business going around for everyone to thrive. So the key thing that we need to do in a PR campaign is to understand that, but also to make you stand out, okay? And the way that I help and the way that you need to do this, you need to focus on relatability and authenticity, because this is genuinely what will sell in the media world, time and time again, okay? So in order to, how to achieve this, okay, people will invest in you as a business because they relate to you, okay? If you think about all the products that you engage with or that you buy or, whatever, you either aspire to them or you relate to them, or, in some way, they make you feel better about yourself. So if people read an article about you and they can see a little bit of themselves or who they want themselves to be, that will allow them to engage with you and your brand in a much more meaningful way. I suppose what I'm saying here is don't be afraid to paint the most honest version of yourself, because authenticity is your USP, okay? And I genuinely believe this. So with any brand or client that I work with, the unique selling point of your business and your brand is you, because there is only one of you, and that is the story that you need to tell. It's what I believe in so strongly, and it's how I've got some of the best coverage for clients that I've ever got. Okay, so my biggest takeaway from all of this would be let your true self shine through, okay? And don't be afraid to just be honest and be truthful, because even in a crowded market, that is what will sell, okay? Sparkly, generic perfection, that doesn't sell. It really just doesn't. People want to read stories that inspire them, that humble them, that make them feel better about themselves, and that make them realize that maybe they're not alone. They're not alone in struggling in their business, or they're not alone in some of the challenges that they face. So I think how to generate a good PR message and a good PR campaign, the central point of all of that should be authenticity, and don't be afraid to be who you are in all of that. So that's everything I've got to say, and I hope you found it helpful. I don't know if any of you guys have got questions, or whether you want to look at various parts of what I've said, or if there's anything I can do to help clarify stuff.
Thank you so much, Pamela. I've written so many notes. I don't know about the rest of you. We definitely have questions. We definitely have questions. So what I'd ask is, anyone who wants to ask questions, just raise their hand, and when we say your name, I'll see Jill, just tell Pamela a little bit about your business and what your question is, so that it can be more of a tailored answer. But that was amazing, Pamela. Thank you so much. I'm so grateful. Thank you. So Jill, unmute yourself. Tell Pamela about.
Oh, thank you so much, Pamela. That was so good. So good. I took lots of notes as well. And a question I asked actually earlier was, do you feel that you really need PR to get you those connections with like the media and all of that stuff? Do you have to have someone in PR working with you to enable you to move forward?
Well, you don't if you're happy to do it yourself. So of course you can do PR yourself. A big part of PR is the relationships, So, it's about, I've been working in PR for 14 years now, and over the course of that time, I've built up a trusted network of journalists that I call my friends. They're my contacts. So it's about opening doors to those contacts. And I think it's really important to say as well, PR doesn't have to be right. Give us all your, all of your business, and we'll do all that PR for you. Sometimes it's a little bit about, okay, so here's these 3 people I know. Maybe we could help you have a coffee with them. And, I'm a big believer as well that contacts shouldn't be owned by a PR agency. The point is to put brands in front of those journalists. So I'm a massive advocate of getting people to sit down with journalists for a cup of coffee, you know, and really helping them build those relationships themselves, because a PR agency will never be able to build those relationships with those contacts the way that you can yourself. Yeah. No one knows your brand the way that you do. So absolutely, you can do PR yourself, and you can sit there and you can Google all those media contacts, and you can absolutely do it. It's just about having the confidence to do that and overcoming, you know, all of the different things that you need to be aware of when you're doing it. You know, for example, writing a press release. Some people like writing, some people don't. You know, it's kind of, you know, you can do whatever works.
Yeah, I think it's more having the connections. You know, because obviously someone in PR has got those connections, whereas, you know, someone else who doesn't is trying to knock on doors, doesn't know who the contact is, could spend hours and hours and hours searching to get crickets at the other end. So I guess to have that contact in PR that would make that introduction is going to be a lot easier than trying to do it yourself. I guess, do you see many people managing to do it themselves without PR? I'd imagine it would be quite difficult.
Yeah, but usually what happens is, I don't, purely because if they come to me and they ask for advice, do you know what I mean? So I think probably, and then in doing that, I can help them do those things. So 100% you can do PR yourself, but I suppose what it boils down to is resource, connections, and I suppose the other thing is, as well as being in an industry, quite often I see a lot of businesses, okay, and I'm included in this, okay, is that they're so busy doing what they're doing and investing their time in it and trying to be everything to everyone that they don't spend very much time on actually looking at their business and growing it. So I think a lot of it can be about delegating, or looking at what are those resources that I need help with and what are the resources that I need to do myself. Now, I am absolutely horrendous at my own PR and marketing. I just am. I'm rubbish at it. But my strength is taking those businesses and doing that for other people. So I'm one of those people that's so engrossed in what I'm doing that I don't take a step back to think about what maybe I should be doing to grow my business. So I suppose it all boils down to resource as well. You know, it's a really tricky balancing act.
Definitely. I like to delegate. Orla knows things. I think it's plenty of strengths, isn't it? I like doing the job that I do, and all the background stuff, definitely not my bag. Orla knows.
So yeah, talents lie where your talents lie, and that's what you want to focus on.
Yeah. Okay, that was helpful. Thank you so much, Pamela.
Who's next? Anyone? Can I ask one of the questions that came through?
Yeah, of course.
So one of the questions, because some of the people that couldn't attend did ask questions, one of the ones was, so we've got a mixture between like local businesses and more online businesses. So if you've got a local business and you know there's a local community, how would you recommend somebody sets up like a PR strategy to be seen everywhere in the local community?
Right. So in order to do that, I would look at, so when you talk about the local community, are you talking about Edinburgh?
Yes, so we've got Edinburgh, we've got East Lothian, we've got some in West Lothian, so in any of those.
So if I was looking at setting up a PR campaign to target a specific area, what I would do is I'd do a number of things. The first thing I would do is I would identify every single media target in Edinburgh, okay? And depending on what that brand was, I would look at, so I don't want to in any way like tell you things you already know here, but for the sake of kind of clarity, say for the Scotsman, okay? Within Scotsman, there's maybe 40 staff, okay? Two people will be on the news desk, one person will be writing features, one person will be writing about health, one will be writing about beauty, you know, the list is endless. So what I'd sit and I'd do is I'd look at that brand and I'd say, right, we need to get a PR campaign that is going to specifically deliver on that client's objectives within this geographical location. So I would basically handpick, I don't know, 30 contacts, media contacts in Edinburgh that I know would specifically be interested in this story. But that alone wouldn't be enough. What I would then do is I would look at communities. So for example, if we're using Edinburgh as an example, I would start looking at all the social media groups and people that might be interested in that product. So first of all, you've got your media. Okay, and when I say media as well, we've got print media, we've got online media. I'd be talking about covering all the media that people in Edinburgh would be thinking about reading. Okay, now that's just local. Then I'd look at my communities, and then I'd go a little bit further afield online, and I'd start thinking, right, well, people in Edinburgh, they don't just read the Edinburgh media. You know, I'd look at my brand and say if it was, for example, the subscription service, Rare Birds, which I tell you about. Rachel lives in Edinburgh and her business is an Edinburgh business. But it's not just to say that people in Edinburgh only people in Edinburgh will buy that. So what I then start doing is looking further afield into the whole of the online media selection and say, okay, well, what sort of publications would resonate with that brand? So I would do that. Then I'd look at influencers, and I'd look at what influencers within Edinburgh. So if it was a product, say again, you know, like say it was a beautician, then I would say, okay, so I'm not going to ask, you know, an influencer from London to come up and trial out this amazing nail design. I'm going to look at my group, and I'm going to look at maybe 5 or 6 influencers that I know have got all these connections in Edinburgh that can also come and visit me in my salon, you know. So I'd be quite strategic and careful about how I did that. And then I'd also look at how I reflected this in my social media. So again, if you've got a product and you want to sell it in Edinburgh, then that all boils down to how you grow that Facebook community online, and also the ad strategy that runs behind it. And the last thing, if I was looking at building a business in Edinburgh, I'd also be looking at Edinburgh business communities. So potentially like Edinburgh Chamber of Commerce, Scottish Business Network, things like that. So again, communities which are specifically feeding into this demographic of people that you want to target. And if you were to pick one thing alone out of that, it might have a little bit of impact. But the key to really driving growth through this is by doing a little bit of all of those things and putting it together, so that it all creates a bigger PR campaign and a bigger result at the end of it.
Love that. Thank you so much. That was amazing. And I always know it's good when people are writing down loads of things. Lindsay, talk to us.
I was just wondering, I hear a lot about influencers, and I totally see how that will help. But how do you identify influencers? How do you know, like I have a giftware business, do I try and find influencers? How? And send them some products, or I'm just not quite sure how it all works.
Yeah. So when you work in PR, I've obviously built up a little bit of a book of contacts, if you like, and a community of influencers. Now, in order to do that, I've done that myself. I didn't, you know, you could do that yourself. The way to do it, and it really is as simple as hardcore research. Okay, so it's looking at who's following you, who's engaging with you, and then taking the time to look through their followers and who's interacting with them. And I suppose it's just taking that time to work out the key influencers that are really going to target, you know, your brands, and really going to help you grow that. And probably build up, I'd say, I don't know, a list of 10 to start with, okay? Build up a list of 10 influencers, look at their community. Now, there's two different types of influencers, in my opinion, or 2 different approaches, okay? Now, the first approach is an influencer with a small community but a huge engagement, and they should never be discarded, because if you're working with an influencer and they've maybe got, I don't know, 800, 900, 1,000 followers, but you're looking at each of those posts and they're all getting upwards of, say, 70, 80 likes, well, I think that's somebody that if I could get behind my brand, then that's going to really help me. The second type of influencer, and you can work with these for a couple of reasons, are the ones with a big community, and great if they've got amazing engagement, brilliant. But if they've got slightly lower engagement, you know, it's about strategically thinking about how that's going to benefit your brand. So if you can align yourself with a slightly bigger influencer and a bigger brand, that's obviously going to help you jump slightly up, you know, in terms of your credibility ladder, if you like. But you know, if you approach it, you say, am I going to work with that influencer for credibility, or do I want general sales out of it? So I think it's balancing up, you know, following, engagement, and return on investment. And if you put them all together, then you can kind of work out who you want to contact. And then when it comes to the actual physical contacting, again, it really is as simple as sending them a message on Instagram, following them, or Facebook, or whatever it is, saying, hi, this is me, this is what I've got. I'd really like to offer you maybe a 3-month trial, or an experience of my product. And if you like it, I really hope that you will, then you'll share that with your community. And then the other key thing to do after that would be quite clear about, if I'm going to give you a 3-month subscription of something, or I'm going to do this, or I'm going to do that, I need to make sure that you are going to hold up your part of the bargain. And that's something that you have to manage. Influencers are wonderful, but they're approached by so many people. And the key thing to do with that is manage that relationship. And in doing that, you just need to keep following up, keep talking to them, see if you can get an email address. You probably will if you've had to get their postal address anyway. And just make sure you continue that dialogue so that you do get, the exposure that you want. And another thing, which I forgot to mention, is if you're looking to measure the impact of those influencer campaigns, give them a code. Give them a code that they can promote with their audience, so that when they redeem that code, you can quite clearly see what return on investment you're getting from the product that you sent to that influencer.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. That makes so much sense. And thank you so much, Pamela. I think it ties in, obviously, making sure, going back to what Pamela said earlier, is that it ties in with your objectives and what it is that you're aiming for the business, that we're not just approaching influencers just ad hoc, that it ties in with the bigger vision for your business as well. I'm just going to go to the chat because Sarah's got a question. Myself and many others in this group are shortlisted for awards. How can we best use that to our advantage?
Good question. So I would never jump the gun and go out and say that you have been shortlisted. You can, but I mean, like into the press. So obviously, shortlisted for awards, I would never go out to the press with that unless you'd had a win, is my advice. But if you have been shortlisted for awards, I think there are so many places that you can shout about that. The first one being on your social. So I would plaster it everywhere that you've been shortlisted for an award, because again, it's credibility. But then also, I wouldn't be afraid to start thinking about where else you can put that. So I'd be putting it in my email signature and things like that, because again, it's just those touch points of ways that you can engage with people. And then depending on what award it was and how you'd been shortlisted and what the process was, there's loads of different ways that potentially you could get together with these people and say, I see you've been shortlisted for award, I see you've been shortlisted for award. Is there any way that we can almost do something fun and clever together, and use, these shared wins as a way to almost help you all grow as a result of it? Yeah.
Perfect, thank you. Who else has got a question? If not, oh, Claudia has one. Claudia, tell us about your business before you ask, if that's okay.
Well, I'm quite starting from not far. Basically, it's productivity and time management for business owners that have to juggle life and business. So it's being there. I know how important is time, and especially in these moments that are all locked down at houses, and we have to redefine how to deal, because if you have children, small children, usually is worse for moms, because they cannot keep entertaining themselves as teenagers, for example. But basically, I work with women in highly demanding jobs or business owners that are in the position that have to deal with house activities of the children, and they put themselves the last. And usually they are very overwhelmed, but they don't want to have help because they think they are failing in the role of superwoman, supermom, super spouse, and super everything. So they don't have time for themselves, and they are quite drained. So my question is, when you are a little bit new, how you can have the credibility tags and all those credentials that you are not having because you are starting, you don't have traction, you have proof in a way because you have a couple of clients, but it's not that you have many. I can have credentials that I ran my previous business was product based, and I succeed in that. Having children under the age of 4, one is disabled, so I manage everything and I have time for myself all the time, because I thought that the most important thing, if I was good, I could give more. And that is the thing that I want to work with the moms, usually is more moms. But for me, because English is not my first language, sometimes the message, it doesn't come across. So how you can do PR and get that message across when you are very new and you don't have all the
Sure.
background?
Well, I
Sorry,
think,
it's a little bit
no.
long.
I'll try and help as much as I can here. I think the first thing is everybody has to start somewhere, right? Like we all have to start somewhere. And I think it goes back to what I was talking about with my client Rachel, in terms of you start small and you take it in 3-month chunks, and each 3 months you lay foundations. So you might be sitting there right now with, you know, feeling like you don't have much to work with. But what I'd say is take a step back and look into your business. So already you've got 2 clients there. So how can you use those 2 clients to help you gain publicity yourself? And the way I would do that is I would say, would you guys mind giving me a testimonial? Would you guys mind giving me a case study? You know, because, you know, when you get that information from them, they then become part of your asset library. And what you want to do over time, and you can't do this overnight, it takes months and years, is you want to build up a library of credible assets. What I mean by that is case studies, quotes, testimonials, all of these credentials that you talk about. But even 1 or 2 credentials, okay, to start with. If you had a case study of somebody that you'd worked with and they've gone from place A to place B in the space of 6 months, say, that is a story already that you can take to the media, okay? That is something that you can say, you know, I'm a working mum of 2, I'm exhausted, I'm this, I'm that, but, you know, I've managed to achieve this. And right now, you know, the media are desperate for these stories. They're saying, how is everyone coping working at home? We're homeschooling, we're doing this, we're doing that. How are we finding time? I'd really love to hear from a couple of mums or a business that can give me 5 top tips on how to get through the day. And then all of a sudden, if you start building on those stories, you know, talking about them, one thing will lead to the next. And that's what I mean about opening doors. So I think it's about starting somewhere, but also not being afraid to look at what you have in your business and using that. And quite often when you're in that business, you don't see how many assets that you've already got, because the fact that you've got a business and the fact that you've got clients already means that you're doing something really good. And I think it's just about having the confidence to start somewhere and take those messages out, whether it be on social media, to the media, online articles, wherever it is. Doing 1 or 2 things a month is going to mean that the following month you're in a better starting point than you were the month before.
Thank you very much.
Who else has got a question? If not, I'm going to ask one of the other questions that has been sent in to us. And I think it ties in with what Claudia said and what you'd said earlier about like the authenticity and being yourself and sharing your story. How, when you maybe feel like you have a story that isn't worth sharing, do you get the confidence in that story that it will be picked up by the media and that it is something that's going to connect?
Sure. This is something I come across all the time. And I get people saying, oh, you know, I don't really know what I've got to say. I probably don't have anything to say. And I say, send things to me and I will look at them and I will read through them. Now, my advice would be to sense check it with somebody else. So to sense check it with Orla, to sense check it with a friend, to sense check it with somebody, because it's exactly this thing. When you are in something, you think that what you've got it's just human nature, right? I don't know anybody that wanders around. Maybe there are people that wander around like this, but they go, I'm brilliant. I've got the best business ever. I've got all the stories in the world. Look at me. Look, I deserve to be famous. People, it's just not like that. So I think you will often find that you are sitting on all these amazing nuggets of information and you don't even realize it. And that is such an important thing. So my advice would be that you're never going to realize that on your own, okay? Because we're made in such a way that it's quite difficult for us to sing our own praises, I think. So I think my advice would be to pull together your assets and to pull them into something tangible that somebody can read, and to share them with a friend, to share them with Orla, to share them amongst your business community even, and to get genuine, honest feedback, because I think in doing that, it will actually make you realize and help give you the confidence that you need to realize that you do have a really great brand.
Thank you so much. I love that. Thanks a million. So we'll be expecting everyone to send in how their stories, how amazing they are soon.
Well, they're just brilliant to share, They're brilliant to share in your community. They're brilliant to share everywhere. And I think that's the thing, is it's these uplifting stories and authentic experiences. That's what sells.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Has anybody else got any more questions? I'm going to ask another one then that we've been sent in. So we've spoken about local businesses and what you'd recommend for, getting your story out there, and you've been really, really generous with the information there. What if you've got more of a business that you feel would be more national, that would be more global, that you kind of want to make more of a bigger impact in? So for example, we've got Laura, we've got Kat, we've got Jill, we've got Sarah, who's launching our coaching soon. So it's not necessarily something that we want to be local, it's something that we want to be global. So from a PR perspective, what are the steps that you'd recommend people take to get that business out there?
So it's almost exactly the same as what I explained for Edinburgh, but just looking at things from a slightly different perspective. So when I spoke about the Edinburgh media, okay, that was quite a clear defined target audience. But instead of looking at that, what you need to do is look at your sector. Okay, so take, for example, I'll just say beauty again. Okay, so you've got a beauty business or an online beauty consultation business that you want to get UK wide, online, even globally. The key to that is to look at all of these publications, the ones that are national, that are online, that follow various sectors rather than, say, geographical locations. So I'd be saying, okay, so I need to now look UK-wide at all of the beauty publications. Not only that, I need to be looking at my women's glossies, Cosmo, Grazia, all of these different publications. We need to be looking at the beauty sections within those publications and just casting the net a little bit wider. I'm not going to lie, national coverage is hard, and it's quite hard until you've got those foundations and building blocks to get you up to a stage where you are a brand that it can be recognized. So I wouldn't, if you were an absolute startup brand and you just done your first sale, I wouldn't be sitting there saying, right, let's go for national coverage, because what national coverage or what national journalists often look for is they look for a business story. They look for, proof of sale, in terms of where you've been, where you're going next. So the national market is a lot more competitive. It's not to say that it can't be done, but you just need to look at things slightly differently. Quite often I get approached by brands and they say, I've cracked the Edinburgh market, I want to crack the UK market, how do I do it? And how they've done that is they've already got quite a strong bank of assets. They've got a lot of press and coverage. They've got examples, so that makes it easier to take it to a national audience. But the key thing I would say there is looking at the sectors, and so instead of saying I want to hit the news pages of Edinburgh, I want to hit the beauty pages of, for example, the Times, and it's having that strength of story that will stand out amongst all of your competitors. And then obviously when we talk about all the other things, it's awards. So looking at London awards rather than Edinburgh awards, looking at London speaker opportunities, looking at how you generate Instagram campaigns and things that are actually UK wide. So what you might want to do there is look at influencers that have more of an online community. So it doesn't necessarily matter that they can't come and visit you in Edinburgh. Their online community and their blog and their presence is going to be felt down south. So you can almost overcome those geographical barriers. Does that help?
Massively so. Thank you so much. Massively so. And I read somewhere, and can you tell me if this is true, that somebody said that a lot of the national papers look to local papers for stories. Is that true?
Not in my knowledge.
No.
The problem with the national papers, okay, is a lot of them want exclusives. And they'll want something that nobody has ever published before. So one of the key things which we often have to overcome is I will go to a publication and I'll say, we've got this brilliant story. You know, we really want you to cover it. And they'll turn around and say, has it been covered anywhere else? And if you say yes, they say, forget it. We want an exclusive on this. If we're going to give this to you, we will be the first ones to get it. So that's another thing. You know, when you offer stories under embargo, what you can do, and you have to think about this carefully, you have to weigh up in your head, is it worth having that one hit in, say, the Sunday Times than it is having 10 hits somewhere else? And sometimes the answer to that question might be yes. You know, so you contact at the Sunday Times and you say, right, I've got this amazing story. Nobody else has got it. You'll be the first. Can you do it? And quite often a media contact would come back and say, yes, I will. And if they do that, then you know to keep everything quiet and it runs there. And then what you say is, okay, we've got that now. Now we're going to take our chances and see what we can get with the other publications. Now, what can happen, because I'm not going to lie, PR is brutal, is you will line this all up and it'll all be fine. And it's only happened twice in my entire career, but you've done it. The contact has promised that you're going to be in this running on Sunday and you're doing this, and then the story gets pulled, which is a little bit annoying. So I'm just giving you all the facts here so that you can also, you know, kind of be aware of, again, it's that delicate matrix of weighing up what you want to achieve from your PR or from a news release and where it's going to gain most traction. And I think if you weigh that up in your head, it will give you more of a sense of where you need to target and whether you might be willing to sacrifice the broader news coverage for that one key piece in a national that you really want to get.
Oh, that's so amazing. Thank you. And I think that screams loudly one of the benefits of working with a PR expert is that you'll be able to offer advice on the noise, because there's so much information out there that's not accurate that we're getting fed. So you can sit down and you can work out what's best for everyone, which is amazing. Kat asked a question. My interconnection is a bit dodgy. Can you ask whether it's worth having articles in free magazines such as the family magazines? I've thought about trying to get a monthly slot, but obviously wouldn't be specific to my business. I thought about maybe going around local artisans and doing crafts, but obviously would be time consuming and possibly expensive. It would eat into my business time, but would the exposure be worth it, even though the exposure would be for me and not the business? Sorry, Kat, then, so you don't have to read that all out, but I didn't see that till the end. Kat basically takes like leather sofas and now denim jeans, and she repurposes those and gives them a life into handbags, and they're absolutely amazing. They're designer quality, they're absolutely incredible. So I suppose Kat's aim is to reach, it's like the second example that we spoke about, to reach a global audience, really, because anyone could potentially buy these incredible products.
Okay, brilliant. So Families Magazine, in my experience, and I apologize to Families Magazine for this, they charge for everything. Okay, and it's very much like an advertorial run magazine. I don't know anyone that's got editorial in Families Magazine unless they've had to invest in it. So I would say that if you're looking to profile yourself and your business, I'd look at my advice would be to do a couple of things. First of all, I'd look at some of my friendlier, easier media contacts in my local area. So first of all, I'd be looking at contacting Louise at Made, because she's a fantastic person to get behind local businesses. She's really open to giving news and editorial for free, and just genuinely an all-round lovely person. So, you know, it could be potentially that you looked at getting an interview in there around yourself as an entrepreneurial parent, but also leading into what makes you entrepreneurial and why people should invest in you as a person. So that's how I'd almost like achieve it in a local sense. But then in a UK sense or in a national sense, I would start looking at gift guides. And again, this isn't hard to do. You can all do it yourself. You can look at, just Google, top gift guide, top Mother's Day gift guides 2020. Okay, now you've missed the boat there, but what I'd be doing is saying, right, so look at these 20 gift guides that ran. Look at the name of the person that ran all these gift guides last year. Great, brilliant. So you pull that all together into an information source, and then you say, great, I'm going to contact those people you know, next January, and I'm going to pitch my product at them because, you know, I've got my photography, I've got all of these things, and I'd be looking at these themed articles UK wide to help gain a little bit of awareness. What I wouldn't be doing is paying money for an advert that's going to appear next to 100 other people in, say, Families magazine, because I don't think that that's going to specifically deliver you the return that you're wanting. I'd be looking to take your unique product and get standout coverage for it in places where people are already invested. If I'm reading a Mother's Day gift guide, I'm interested in what to buy my mum. If I'm scrolling through Families magazine and I just so happen to see an advert or something paid for, I might not be in the right mood to think about what I'm doing there. So I'd say it's about targeting the right message at the right time to the right publication.
Thank you. Kat, let us know if that's coming up with any other questions. She said that's perfect. Thank you. Has anybody else got any other questions before I jump in with my long list? I'm going to ask another one if that's okay. What you're saying screams that, you know, we seem to think, oh, PR, oh, I've got this idea, I'll just approach all of these people. But it sounds to me that you're saying is actually we need to collate all of the information, sit down, formulate a plan, and do it with a sense of strategy and not a sense of impulse. Because have you seen people ruin relationships with potential journalists that they could have built strong relationships by just kind of been like a machine gun?
Yeah, well, the worst thing is, it's an awful saying, but people say it's spray and pray, and it's literally well known in the PR world. Some people will just sit there and spray out 100 different messages, just praying that one will stick. And I just think that that's such a rubbish way to do it. So the thing is it's about looking at all your media assets, pulling them into one succinct strategy, and then looking at, even if I do 1 or 2 things a month and I do them well, that's going to make me look more credible. It's going to make the journalist think that I'm genuinely serious and I'm actually, you know, I've got a head about me. I'm not just sending a sports journalist, something because I think they might be interested in it. You know, it's about looking at almost like mapping out your communication. So, you know, I've got 12 months here. I want to be talking about these things in January, these things in March, these things in June. And the other thing which I haven't mentioned is specific points or media hooks. Just take, for example, Father's Day, okay, which is taking place in June. I would start thinking about my Father's Day campaign probably in February, okay? And the reason I would do this is some of the longer lead publications, the glossies, they start pulling together guides and ideas and things really far in advance. So what you don't want to be doing is going, oh my God, it's the 1st of June. Great, I'm going to pull out something really quickly for Father's Day and just hit all the media, because the media are just going to think, they don't know what they're doing. They haven't thought about their timelines. And also this isn't really relevant. So I think the key to all of this is pulling together all of your information and creating a strategic plan, because that's what's going to yield you so much more in the long run.
That's amazing. Thank you so much. And I think it ties in with, you know, we do goal setting for the year and then we do our 3-month goal setting. So it's certainly something that we can plot out in advance going forward. Okay, guys, you've got a chance. You've got an amazing PR expert here. Who has got a question? Oh, Bev has.
Is that me now? Pamela, I have a cafe in East Lothian in the middle of Lauderdale Park in Dunbar, and we opened up last year. And for this year, we were really keen to, we had a lot of events planned, excuse me, we had a lot of events planned, and they were due to be starting Easter holidays and onwards. We also were up for some awards, so that was our kind of starting point for getting things moving. I'm just wondering now, I feel like I'm in a bit of limbo because things are on hold, and it's what can I do now to plan for things coming up in the future? Do you know, how quickly can I get things, how quickly should I be looking at to start looking at what I can do PR wise, because obviously I feel like things are on hold at the moment.
Sure. I would be starting now, and it would be doing exactly that. So I would start by pulling together a calendar. So a big thing that I hook a lot of PR campaigns on is awareness days, and I'm sure you do as a business as well. So what special offers have you got coming up around all of these special days? So Easter's obviously out, you know, Father's Day is probably out, but I would almost be putting in my head like a deadline of, great, so I'm hoping that I'm going to be open by this date. So on this date, these are the awareness days and the things that I've got running between now and the end of the year. And then I track back in my head in terms of how do I want to start promoting them, and when do I want to start doing that, and how do I want it? So for example, if you have, say, a launch party to open the fact that you're launching again, you know, and this is all gone and we're all allowed out of our houses, you could start working now on a strategy or an idea in terms of, great, well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to invite 10 influencers down because I'm doing X, Y, and Z on this open day. And I really want to gain this traction. So I'd start researching them now. I'd start thinking about what I was going to offer them that might be a bit different. And you've got the time now to compile and compose these campaigns so that you can really hit the ground running when you need to again.
Is that good for you, Bev? Have you any more questions?
She's on mute.
Yeah, I'm not quite. Yeah, that's really useful. I think I was sort of looking at that. I think it's just the time to look at, like, oh, are we looking at June? Are we looking at October? I think it's that difficulty is how far ahead am I looking almost. But maybe if I plan up till, say, Christmas time and work back from there, we can look. It'll just
you can do so much legwork now. So if you pull together a list of influencers or things that you want to do, those assets that you are building, they're all transferable then, aren't they? Because whenever that event takes place, you can still, all that data and hard work that you've done now, that can all transfer, and it just has to kind of, you know, be a bit of a moving target at the moment.
Okay, perfect. That's great.
And you can even you can do little things like create your graphics on social media, but just add the date in later, start creating your Eventbrite, but keep your event as a draft. All of these things that we can actually save the time now. So when everyone else is literally just starting the engine again, because so many people have turned the car off and flung the fucking away, exactly. You're ready to go and you're just letting the handbrake down.
Yeah, 100%. That's exactly it.
Okay, that's great. Thank you.
I'm looking forward to that party, Bev. We'll be down. With belts on. And I saw Sarah there commented she loves the idea of the launch party as well, which I think, especially for any of us that do like networking, that do events, that the yoga, everything will be huge. So guys, before we finish up, who has got any more questions for Pamela, who's been so generous with her time and her expertise? I think what's going to happen is we're going to go away and we're going to process all of this. I've taken about 1,000,001 notes. Are we okay, Pamela, if we've got any more questions to come back and ask them to you? Absolutely. And we can maybe then get you to record a live in the group or something, just so that we can get that information back. Would that be okay with you?
100%. I'm here to help. If there's anything I can do to help through these few months, just, you know, with ideas and just to kind of, you know, keep everyone inspired so that, like they say, you're ready to let the handbrake off when this all dies down. The key thing is to all be ready to go and to use this time to get all your comms campaigns ready. So all you need to do is go.
That's amazing. And the beauty is you do have varying packages. So you do have packages for small businesses that are starting out in PR. So it's something that you can definitely help out with when the time comes. Isn't that right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
Perfect. The great news is, thanks everyone for tuning in. I have recorded this from the start, which I'm super proud of. So I will get that in. Lizzie says thank you. Lizzie didn't show her face today, which I'm traumatized by. So we've got this. I've got this recorded, and we will be coming live again next Thursday at 10, and then in 2 weeks' time, we've got another guest speaker as well, because I'm trying to spread them out for the 3 weeks only that we will be in isolation. So guys, thank you so much, and thanks a million to Pamela. It's so amazing, just so generous. Thank you on behalf of everyone. That was absolutely incredible. Thanks a million. Is there anything else that you'd like to say to us? Anything that you'd like to leave with? Actually, I'll ask a question. What's the one thing, getting our comms thing, what's the one thing we have to have sorted during isolation?
I would say during isolation, you have to have a clear plan in place for, like we said, start at the end of the year and work your way back and come back however optimistic you are. But make sure that you use this time to define your key messages, to understand what your own USPs are, and to pull together a plan, giving yourself 2 or 3 PR objectives a month between now and the end of the year, and have everything ready so that when this all passes, you're 10 steps ahead of everyone else.
I love that. We will happily do that. Okay, and guys, we're going to keep reminders over the next wee while in the groups to making sure that everyone's doing this. And if we've got any questions, we can post and we can chat to Pam about them. So thank you so much to everyone for tuning in. That's all for today. I'll get this video uploaded in the groups today or tomorrow. But in the meantime, just a huge thank you to Pamela. That was amazing. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
Thank you.
All right, take care, guys.
Bye, guys. See you all later. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.